Nestled between rolling hills and quiet forests, Meadowbrook was the kind of town where front doors were left unlocked, and neighbors shared sugar without asking. Children rode bicycles past white picket fences, and the smell of freshly baked bread often drifted from the bakery at the corner. Life moved slowly here, and people liked it that way. Among the warm-hearted townsfolk was a little girl named Sana, just 9 years old, with pigtails, curious brown eyes, and a laugh that made even the grumpiest faces soften. Everyone knew her, not just because she was the only daughter of the town's beloved schoolteacher, Mr. Haroon, and his kind-hearted wife Nayla, but because she had a rare gift. She remembered everyone's birthday and always made them a card. Sana was Meadowbrook's sunshine. She fed stray cats, helped the librarian stack books, and always made room at lunch for anyone sitting alone. People often joked she would grow up to be the town's mayor, or maybe even the president. Her innocence wasn't just charming, it was contagious. The town was preparing for its annual spring fair, and Sana was the unofficial mascot. Posters with her face smiling wide as she held a bouquet of daffodils had been placed all around. Nayla had stitched her a yellow dress for the event, and she'd been practicing a poem she wanted to recite. But what no one in Meadowbrook knew was that far beyond their cozy little bubble, darkness was moving closer, EXT. City prison, night, flashback. A few months earlier, Zarar Khan, a dangerous man with a long list of crimes, escaped from a maximum security prison. A former gang leader known for kidnapping and extortion, Zarar vanished without a trace. Authorities issued a nationwide alert, but weeks turned into months. Rumors said he'd fled the country. Others whispered that he'd changed his face and identity, but the truth was more chilling. Zarar hadn't gone far. He was hiding, planning, and watching XT. Meadowbrook bus stop. Zarar had arrived in Meadowbrook 3 weeks ago, disguised as a repairman. He was quiet, kept to himself, and no one gave him a second look. This town, he realized, was perfect, peaceful, naive, rich in emotion and opportunity. He first saw Sana while she was helping an old woman cross the road. He didn't see a child. He saw leverage. He saw $100,000. In his twisted mind, the girl's innocence was her weakness, and her parents' love for her was a weapon he could use in tea. Haroon's house. Evening. Haroon kissed his daughter's forehead as she prepared for bed. "Don't forget," she giggled. "You promised to braid my hair for the fair tomorrow." Nayla chuckled as she folded clothes. "And I'll be making your favorite breakfast, honey pancakes." They had no idea those would be the last peaceful words spoken in their home for days to come. XT. Meadowbrook, nightfall. A shadow moved through the trees near the edge of the schoolyard, silent, patient, watching. In the quiet town where everyone knew each other, no one noticed the stranger. No one suspected that a storm was coming, one that would shatter their sense of safety, one that would test the limits of love, fear, and human resilience. And at the heart of it all was a little girl in a yellow dress, humming a poem she never got to finish, fade out. The sun poured through the curtains like liquid gold. Birds chirped as Nayla flipped pancakes in the kitchen. Sana, wearing her yellow dress and a bright smile, twirled in the living room. "Don't forget your poem," Haroon reminded, sipping tea and checking his watch. "And stay on the main road when you walk back today. No shortcuts." "I know, Baba," she said, slinging her little school bag over her shoulder. "Love you." They waved goodbye at the door, a moment so normal, so routine, that no one imagined it might be the last time they'd see her that way. Ext. School route. Afternoon. The school bell rang. Children burst out, laughing and talking. Sana, walking alone as usual, headed down the sidewalk, humming her poem softly to herself. Unnoticed by anyone, a white van slowly turned the corner. Int. Van, same time. Zarar sat behind the wheel, gloved hands steady, face expressionless. He'd watched her route for over a week. Knew where she slowed down, where no one looked. He wasn't acting on impulse. This was planned, calculated. As Sana reached the patch of trees near the footpath, the van rolled to a silent stop. XT. School pathway. Seconds later, Sana noticed a cat stuck between some bushes off the trail. Instinctively, she moved toward it. Suddenly, a hand wrapped around her mouth. She screamed, but only in her mind. Her small body thrashed, but she was no match. In seconds, she was inside the van, and the door slammed shut. The van vanished down the road. No witnesses. No sound. Just the wind brushing through the trees. Haroon's house. Evening. The fair had started. Children recited poems on stage, but Sana was missing. Haroon paced the living room, glancing at his watch. She should have been home 2 hours ago. Nayla stood at the window, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. "I'll call the school," she whispered moments later. The phone rang first. Haroon picked up. There was silence. Then a deep, distorted voice spoke. "If you ever want to see your daughter alive again, you'll bring $100,000 in cash. No police, no mistakes. You have 48 hours. Click. Haroon froze. The phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Police station. Night tears streamed down Nayla's face as Haroon struggled to explain to the officer what had happened. The police chief, Inspector Ralph, leaned forward. "We're launching a search immediately, but I won't lie. This is serious. Professional." "They said not to call you," Haroon muttered. "But we couldn't do this alone." "You did the right thing," Ralph said. "Now let us do ours. XT. Meadowbrook. Night sirens echoed in the distance. Flashlights combed through the woods. Volunteers gathered. The town that had been laughing and dancing just hours ago now moved with silent urgency. Everyone was looking for Sana, but no one knew where to look. Abandoned warehouse. Same time, Sana lay on a dirty mattress, hands tied, eyes wide with fear. Zarar crouched in a shadowy corner, watching her like a vulture. "Be quiet, and you won't get hurt," he growled. She nodded, trembling. A tear rolled down her cheek, soaking into the yellow fabric of her dress. In just one afternoon, a family's joy turned into terror, and a town's peace shattered like glass. And somewhere out there, a clock had started ticking, counting down to either a ransom paid or a life lost. The once cheerful home now stood silent and dim. Sana's toys lay untouched on the rug. Her half-read storybook rested on the couch. The yellow ribbons she had planned to wear for the fair were still pinned to the mirror. Nyla sat on the floor, clutching a pair of Sana's socks to her chest like a lifeline. Her eyes were red and swollen. Haroon stood motionless by the window, staring into the night as if willing it to bring her back. "She's only 9, Nayla whispered, her voice hollow. "She's scared. She hates the dark." Haroon didn't respond. He couldn't. His mouth was dry, his throat raw from yelling her name in the woods earlier. He had searched until his legs gave out, and still, no Sana XT. Meadowbrook Town Square. Next day, word had spread fast. The fair was cancelled. Shops remained closed. A dark cloud loomed over Meadowbrook. Children weren't allowed to play outside. Mothers clutched their kids a little tighter. The town had changed overnight, from warm and trusting to cold and cautious. A missing child wasn't just a tragedy here, it was unthinkable. Police station, briefing room. Inspector Ralph stood before a whiteboard cluttered with photos and maps. A red circle marked the area Sana was last seen. Another surrounded abandoned buildings at the town's edge. "This wasn't random," he said grimly to his officers. "He planned this. He knew when she walked. He knew she walked alone." The officers nodded, but their faces were tense. Leads were thin, no clear fingerprints, no surveillance in the area. The van had vanished without a trace. "This kind of criminal," Ralph continued, "doesn't just want money. He wants power, fear. We're dealing with a professional INT, abandoned warehouse. Day." Sana sat in the corner of the dark room, her hands tied but her spirit flickering like a stubborn flame. Her lips trembled, but she whispered her poem under her breath, over and over, trying not to cry. Trying to stay brave. "When the sun goes down, don't be afraid. The moon will guard you till it's day." Zarar paced nearby, counting stacks of fake money for a photo he planned to send as proof of life. He noticed her whispering and walked over. "Stop mumbling," he barked. Sana froze, but she didn't cry. "You're not going home," he said coldly. "So stop dreaming. Still, no tears." Sana looked up, eyes shining, and said quietly, "My dad will come." Zara scoffed and turned away, but something about her voice lingered with him. She wasn't just a child. She was resilient, INT. Haroon's house. Later that night, Haroon stared at the ransom note again. $100,000. He didn't have even a tenth of that. Friends offered to mortgage their homes. Some neighbors pooled their savings. A few strangers even set up a donation box near the bakery. But the money came slowly, and the hours moved even slower. Each minute without Sana was a weight pressing harder on their chests. NT. Police station, monitoring room. Ralph received a blurred photo. Sana, alive, holding a newspaper to prove the date. Behind her, a symbol scrawled on the wall. A faint clue. He zoomed in. His eyes narrowed. "We may have something," he whispered. "Check the old paper mill on Route 6. Now, in a town drowning in fear and a family clinging to the last threads of hope, one thing remained unchanged. Sana hadn't given up. Even in the darkest place, she carried a light inside her, a quiet courage that refused to die. And sometimes, that's all it takes to survive." Inspector Ralph stared hard at the blurry photo on the screen. Behind Sana, just above her shoulder, a faded logo was barely visible. A broken M surrounded by dust and rust. Ralph leaned forward, tapping it. "That's it, Meadowbrook Mill. It was shut down 10 years ago after the factory fire." An officer nodded. "It's still structurally sound, but abandoned. Nobody goes near it." Ralph grabbed his radio. "Assemble the team. Full tactical gear. We move in 1 hour. Quiet. No mistakes. We get the girl out. Alive. Inti." Haroon's house. Same time. Nayla clutched the phone to her chest after the call ended. Her legs gave out and she dropped to the couch. Haroon rushed to her. "They found her," she whispered. "They think they found her." He froze. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "They're going now. The police. They're going to bring her back." For the first time in days, Haroon allowed a glimmer of hope to break through the despair. Old Meadowbrook Mill. An hour later, gray skies loomed over the crumbling brick structure. Rusty machines lay like skeletons inside. The area was quiet. Too quiet. A tactical van pulled up, followed by unmarked cars. Officers in black gear moved silently, rifles raised, eyes scanning every inch of the terrain. Ralph raised a clenched fist. "Hold!" A light flickered in a top-floor window. "She's here," he murmured. Warehouse, top-floor Sana, lay huddled in a corner, too exhausted to cry, too numb to move. Her lips were dry, her yellow dress torn. Zarar stood near the window, watching the road with binoculars. He sensed something, a tension in the air. Something was wrong. He grabbed his pistol and rushed toward Sana, yanking her to her feet. "Get up! Now!" Mill, stairwell. Same time. Ralph led the team up the stairs. They moved fast and silent, splitting into pairs. On the fourth-floor landing, they heard footsteps. Zarar. Gun drawn, he dragged Sana along, using her small frame as a shield. "Don't come closer!" he shouted. "I swear I'll shoot her!" Ralph froze at the corner. "Zarar Khan, you're surrounded. There's no way out. Let the girl go." "Back off." Zarar's eyes darted wildly. "I'll kill her. I have nothing to lose." Ralph lowered his weapon slightly. "You touch her, and you're dead before you blink. But let her go, and maybe you walk out alive." Zarar hesitated. Sana whimpered. Then, crack! A loud noise echoed from a back stairwell. Zarar flinched, just enough. In that instant, Officer Adil took the shot. Zarar dropped. Sana screamed and stumbled to the floor. Blood pooled from Zarar's shoulder, non-fatal, but enough to bring him down. Officers rushed in, surrounding him. Haroon's house. Minutes later. The phone rang again. Haroon snatched it up. A voice on the other end. "She's safe. We have her." For a second there was silence. Then Nyla broke into sobs, and Haroon fell to his knees. XT. Mill. Later. Wrapped in a blanket, Sana was carried out by Inspector Ralph. She buried her face in his shoulder, holding tight. Cameras clicked. Officers stood guard. The town watched silently from behind barricades, breath held. When Haroon and Nayla arrived, they ran. Sana, upon seeing them, finally cried out, "Mama, Baba." She was home again in T hospital room. Night. Sana slept peacefully for the first time in days, her parents by her side. Outside, Ralph gave a press briefing. "The kidnapper is in custody. The child is safe. Justice will be served." For Meadowbrook, peace would return, slowly, painfully, but it would return. And Sana. She didn't just survive, she fought and she won. The courtroom buzzed with quiet murmurs as Zarar Khan, now in chains and heavily guarded, was led to the defendant's bench. His face, once cold and calculating, was pale and empty. The trial was swift, the evidence overwhelming, his own voice on the ransom call. The van, the photo of Sana in captivity, the illegal weapons. The judge's gavel came down hard. "Zarar Khan, you are sentenced to life imprisonment without parole." There was no applause, no celebration, just a collective exhale. Justice had spoken. XT. Meadowbrook Town Square. Day summer had arrived in Meadowbrook, but the atmosphere remained quieter, gentler. The fair had been rescheduled. But this time, it wasn't just about games and prizes. It was about community, healing. Banners read, "Welcome back, Sana." Sana, now sitting between her parents, wore a simple white dress. She still smiled, but her eyes held a maturity that hadn't been there before, a quiet strength. She had changed, but she hadn't broken. Int. School classroom. Day. A few weeks later, Sana returned to class. Her seat was decorated with drawings and kind notes from her classmates. Her teacher, tears in her eyes, handed her a pencil and whispered, "Take your time." Sana looked around the room, a little overwhelmed, but then she noticed one of the boys quietly scooting his chair closer to hers. "You can sit next to me," he said. "I saved your spot." Sana smiled. Int. Haroon's living room. Night. The family was together again, something they would never take for granted again. Nyla lit a candle by the window, something she'd done every night during Sana's absence. But now, it burned for a different reason. Not hope, but gratitude. Haroon looked at the candle, then at his daughter. "We almost lost you," he said, voice breaking. "But I wasn't lost," she replied. "I just couldn't find the way back yet." Time police station, office, night. Inspector Ralph stood by the window, watching the streetlights flicker on. Officer Adil entered, holding a letter. "It's from Sana," Adil said. The letter read, "Thank you for finding me. For being brave when I was scared. I hope other kids never have to be rescued. I hope they stay safe." Ralph folded the letter carefully and placed it on his desk. "That," he said quietly, "is why we do this." XT. Meadowbrook. Narration over montage. As days passed, the town began to breathe again. Parents walked their kids to school more often. Neighborhood watches were formed. More streetlights were installed. Everyone became just a little more careful, a little more alert. But they also became closer. They had faced darkness and pulled each other back into the light. Evil often strikes when we least expect it. It shatters peace, breaks hearts, and tests the human spirit. But even in the worst moments, we find something stronger than fear. We find courage in little girls who whisper poems in the dark, in parents who refuse to give up, in communities that rise instead of fall. Let this story remind us, safety is precious, life is fragile, and no act of love or vigilance is ever too small. Fade out. Text on screen. Dedicated to all children who faced fear and all the families who never stopped searching for the light.